All right. Hey, everybody. So I'm back. I've been really terrible about getting up in the morning, but I still want to talk to you guys. So I'm going to do it. Let me just adjust this a little bit. So you don't have to. There we go. It's a little bit better. All right. So anyway, I've been really terrible about getting up, like I said. And yeah, the lighting in here isn't great. I need to just set up a light somewhere over here and just make it work. But anyway, I'm going to move this down so I don't look like I'm looking up at the sky when I'm looking at you guys. Anyway, so here's the deal. I've been working on a few things here. I'm probably going to put two larger things that I've been working on into the same thing. They're not related that much, but anyway, I'm going to talk through it. We're going to see how things go. As you can probably tell, I'm still rearranging my office. If you look at some of the older videos, the perspectives change just a little bit. I pushed this desk maybe 6 inches to a foot forward. So you see a little bit more of the calendar and a little bit more of the whiteboard and things like that. Anyway, so yeah. So anyway, a few things. One of them is just I've been working on envisioning what I want and being the kind of person that I want. And I read a couple of books that have helped with that. Both of those are by Joe Dispenza, if you're interested. One's called You Are the Placebo. And then I picked up another one, and this is the one that I keep hearing about from John Sonmez, and that is Breaking the Habit of Being You. And so I've been reading both of those books. I should put links to those in the show notes or in the YouTube notes. Anyway, but yeah, so I've been looking at that, and one of the things that he talks about in You Are the Placebo, I haven't read the other one yet, and something that comes up in The Miracle Morning and Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, and you kind of get the idea, right? I'm looking at these things, and I've got these big visions, right? Millionaire, which is interesting, the wall behind me, I should take a picture of it. The wall right in front of me, millionaire, man of God, great dad. Okay, so there are 3 sections on the wall. And this is all part of the vision, right? Part of the visioning. And so those are the 3 big things that I'm working on. I feel like great dad and great husband, and those are all kind of in the same area, but great dad fit nicely on the paper. And so that's why it says great dad over there. But anyway, so I've got these 3 big areas that I want to just excel in. I just want to own them. I mean, there are other things that I'm involved in that I want to, contribute in, and some of them are related to these. So for example, I'm really involved in scouting, Boy Scouts and Cub Scouts, and that falls under man of God, in my opinion, right? Because that's one area that I serve and teach and help in, right? Millionaire, Toastmasters kind of falls in there, not directly, I guess, because it's not gonna, my contributions to Toastmasters aren't going to make me a millionaire, but the flip side is that learning to speak and learning to share and honing those skills, especially since I'm a podcaster and that's what I do, that's kind of the focus there. And great dad, I've got just pictures of my kids or pictures that my kids made for me and all kinds of stuff, and it's probably going to cover the whole wall. Right now it's about, I don't know, probably about 3 feet all the way up to the top of the wall. It's got pictures and calendars and all kinds of stuff on it. Man of God, I'm still working on. I got a huge picture of Jesus Christ. I put it up there. I thought this picture was bigger, but it's not. If you're Mormon, you might recognize this, and even then you might not. This is the Manti Temple, the Mormon Manti Temple, and that's where my wife and I were married. And I expected this to be, that big, so I could put it up on the wall, and it's not. So I'm trying to find a way to stick it on the monitors here or something without blocking anything, and I don't know. I'm still working on that. Kind of tempted to make like a physical product that. So I have the VESA or VESA connection things on the monitor arms in front of me, and I've got 4 monitors. The one in the top right's still blank because I haven't actually hooked the. I have a Mac Pro, an old Mac Pro that I've got sitting down here. It's like a 2012 Mac Pro or 2010 Mac Pro, I think it's a 2010. Anyway, it still runs. It's got like Photoshop and stuff on it, which I like. And so, and then I have a keyboard and mouse sharing that I can, and so I'll make it so that I can control it from my Windows machine. But anyway, that's kind of beside the point. But yeah, so I thought about making something like that then you can mount like a picture frame or something too. And so this would then show up, just it would just kind of hang to the side of the monitor. Anyway, I don't know if something like that exists, but anyway, I think it'd be fun. So I'm working on that. I might just get some sticky tack and just, um, put it on the corners here and then just stick it on there. But it kind of bends, and so I don't know. Anyway, I'm rambling, and I shouldn't be. Anyway, so that's kind of something that I'm working on. So just getting the vision right. And then as I have that up there, then as I do the miracle morning process and things like that, then I can actually just stand in front of my wall and envision what I'm working on. And then Joe Dispenza, in his book, he talks about meditation and meditating and kind of opening yourself up to the possibilities that you're trying to achieve. And so I feel like if I can kind of get this vision and study this stuff out, right? I mean, I'm still going to be reading books about becoming a millionaire, becoming a man of God, scriptures, parenting books, family books. I'm looking at all this stuff and I'm studying it, but then just sitting down and kind of letting it soak in and come into my mind and meditating on it and communing with God, communing with the universe, whatever you want to call it, and just doing all of that work, that mental work, to become the kind of person that is those things. So that's in a nutshell what I'm working on. And so the vision stuff is really huge for me. And yeah, the whole wall is going to be covered with this kind of stuff. Now I'm using like thumbtacks and sticky tack to put the pictures up right now, mainly because I don't really want to put like nail holes in the wall. I've done that for a few things here, but not many. And the thumbtack holes, if we ever move from here, and we're pretty happy with the neighborhood and the neighbors and everything else, I just don't see a reason to move unless there, something happens. Then we just paint it over. It's not a big deal. And there's still holes in the wall on that side because that's where the whiteboard used to be. And then I moved it over here. So, there are holes along the top that have the screw anchors. So anyway, I'm not that worried about doing damage. And I can fix it anyway because I fix everything freaking else around here. So anyway, like my water main, I fixed the water main last week. And a lot of that just comes down to I like fixing it. And a lot of times I feel like I pay somebody to come and help with it, and then they do a crappy job and I wind up having to fix it myself anyway because I care, because it's my crap, and all they care about is, collecting the money at the end of the day. So anyway, so I got rambling again. Sorry about that. But anyway, so that's the deal with the visioning and just creating that. And I'm trying to find a way to create a little bit of that on my computer just so that I have reminders come up periodically about this stuff. I'm not sure exactly how I want to do that. But I don't want to just like put things in my calendar that are just going to pop out at me, right? I actually want, somewhat spontaneously to, run across the quote or run across the picture or something like that. So I'll figure some of that out. But anyway, so I'm working on that. And then, so that makes up for yesterday because I didn't get on and record one of these yesterday. Anyway, so today let's talk about SaaS, right? So I went to lunch yesterday with Eric Berry, and I think I've mentioned Code Sponsor before on here. If you're a programmer and you have open source stuff, go check them out and get money from Code Sponsor, codesponsor.io. If you have a business that would benefit from getting the attention of software developers, then go check them out too. You can also come to me and sponsor some of the shows, but whatever the case, right? And we'll, he's helping with advertising. I'm doing advertising on the podcast. So whatever medium makes sense, right? He'll help you get in front of people and support open source at the same time, which I think is great. So anyway, I went to lunch with him. Now, Eric and I have known each other for like 10 years. Or at least 7 or 8 years, because he's the one that got me into. I recorded a video for him for teachmetocode.com, and then eventually I wound up taking it over because he got into Groovy and Grails. And I've told this story before, and I'm not going to go into it. But anyway, so we've known each other for quite a long time. Yeah, I think it's been like 10 years. So anyway, he's now a panelist on Ruby Rogues, and he's like, dude, I have some ideas for sponsorship. Let's go sit down and figure this out. So we went to lunch, and he it was funny because he was trying to lead me down the path of coming up with what he thought I should do. And of course, I'm totally obtuse, and I'm sitting there going, well, I could reach out to people more this way instead of that way, and I could do this kind of thing instead of that kind of thing. And finally, he just looked at me and he said, look, he said, I've talked to a couple of companies that have sponsored your shows in the past, and here are the problems that they had with the way you did sponsorships. And man, I mean, there were a couple of things where it was like, you know what, look, there was some poor communication with the middleman. With one of them in particular, they had sponsored the show. They actually got what they paid for, but the communication just wasn't done well between me and them, and there was somebody in the middle of it that kind of complicated that. Still a lot of my fault, right? I should have just been more clear. Here's what you sponsored, here's how you find it, here's how you verify you got it, blah blah blah, right? And that wasn't exactly 100% clear. And there are some things I need to fix and change on the website for devchat.tv. So anyway, so that's one issue. A few other things are that some of the ad reads apparently didn't come across as high energy. And, that was really actually good feedback, because a lot of people, if I get on and I say, this episode is sponsored, and I'm exaggerating this, right? But this episode is sponsored by this company because they do this awesome thing. Nobody's going to go check it out. But I mean, most of the sponsors have products that I at least like, and most of them, have products that I can get excited about. And so, anyway, I need to put more energy into those and just be like, hey, go check them out. They're awesome. The other thing is that I've also tried not to inject too much personality into those shows, and I think that's been a mistake too. And so, I joke around on the show, but anyway, I'm going to try and be a little bit more upbeat and have more energy on the show, just because I feel like that's very important as well. And so if I have high energy on the show, and then we get high energy in the ad spots, and just let people know, hey, look, this is awesome. It's exciting. It'll solve your problem. We love these guys. Oh, and we love these guys, and we're excited. Then, it changes a lot of things. And then one other thing that he told me was that if there was some way that they could actually see the shows that are coming out, and they can say, oh, that one's really relevant to us, so we want to make sure that we have a good sponsorship spot on that episode, then that changes the conversation as well. And so anyway, so I'm still being obtuse, right? And he's telling me, if you can solve these problems, then you'll have more sponsors than you know what to do with. And I'm sitting there going, yeah, that's probably true. So then he just looks at me, he's like, dude, you're a developer, build it, right? Build this solution. And I was like, I started thinking about it, like after we left from lunch, and I realized that he's totally right. First of all, I spend a ton of time chasing sponsors, trying to figure it out. Emails get lost. I mean, crap like that, right? And so if I had a system that just managed that, and essentially when they sign up for a sponsorship, they get to just pick the spot, right? Because that's the other thing that I've run into is it was a pain in the butt to do things where it was, okay, you've got the first spot, you've got the second spot, you've got the third spot. Okay, I've got first spots open here, and I've got third spots open here, so you can do a gold and a silver and a whatever, right? And it got complicated. And so I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to get rid of that. I'm just going to do sponsor, right? You're a sponsor and we'll just rotate you, right? So you're in the first spot one week, second spot the next week, third spot the next week. And I also moved them so that they were distributed throughout the show because I found out that people were skipping the ads at the beginning of the show. All right. So I was like, no, let's make sure that people are hearing the ads. And, because the sponsors, that's what they're paying for. And they're paying for the show, right? They're paying for the show to get edited and produced, and they're paying for me to spend a bunch of time putting all the stuff together and finding guests and doing all the stuff that I do. And so I feel like I owe them that, right? I owe them to do as much as I can to make sure people hear their ads. And I'm not trying to trick people. If people, they hear it coming up and they skip it, I mean, there's nothing I can do about that, skip forward 30 seconds or a minute, however long it is. But most people won't. And the other thing is like when I'm listening to shows, I've got this thing in my pocket. And by the time I pull it out to skip the ad's over. So I just listen through them. And that's kind of what I'm aiming for. And then at least people know, hey, look, you know what? I've got some goodwill toward this company. They supported a show that I listened to. Or, hey, I've got this problem and I've been trying to find a solution. And hey, the sponsorship ad just told me that there's a company out there that solves it. So anyway, so all of that said, a lot of rambling, but actually it's not rambling because it's relevant to this discussion. But anyway, so he just told me to go build it. And I realized that, yeah, if I could get something in place that would take a lot of this off of my plate, so that essentially, because my outreach right now is, hey, do you want to schedule a call? 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 And now what I'm going to do is once I have this all together, I'm actually going to turn it around and it's going to be, hey, look, if you just want to go for it and sponsor it and see what, and see what we have available, here's the link. Go sign up. Right. And so they can go and they can pick all the episodes and they can say, I want that spot, that, right. And they just get all the spots. And then if they want to do a call, then we can do a call. We can talk. We can say, hey, look, we've got these shows. They cover these topics. You're in DevOps. We're going to talk about DevOps on this episode and this episode. So let's make sure that you got the top billing on those episodes, and that way I can have that conversation with them, and I can go ahead and just set it up for them, and it'll just invoice them. And, they come, they sign in. And then what happens is, in order to get that sponsorship stuff together, then what happens is, they buy the spot and it's a recorded ad read. And so then it's, okay, well, it's up to you first. What do you want us to say? Do you have a script? Do you have talking points? Give us what you've got. And, and then the podcaster gets it back and it tells them, okay, here are the talking points, or here's the script, so go ahead and, record something. And so they record it, they upload it to the system, and then it notifies the sponsor, hey, look, they recorded the recording. Because this is the other thing that I've gotten back from some of the sponsors is, hey, look, we heard the ad read in the episode and we didn't like it, right? Because I record what they tell me to record, or I put the talking points in, and then it's like, you know what, you messed this up, or you missed this, or whatever. And so we can have some back and forth right before the sponsorship. And if they sign up to sponsor next week and they want one of these, then obviously the podcaster, or me in this case, would be able to say, look, we don't have enough time to turn around a recording, or we're going to have to be on top of this, right? So just keep in mind that we only have time to revise this a couple of times. So, make sure that you give us as much information up front as possible so we can get it ready. But, it's all automated. And then it just emails them, okay, there's a new recording, go check it out. So then they go check it out. Here's the feedback. Go re-record it. Okay, and you can work through it. And that just gives a process for that. The other thing is that because I'm rotating the ads every week, one thing that is a pain is the banners. So I have to remember to go in every week and manually update the banners. And so what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to have them upload the banners. I'll have our Magic, which connects into Image Magic, just re-render them as PNGs, and then on the website, then I'm just going to embed it. Ruby Rogues, the PNG number 1, Ruby Rogues, PNG number 2, and then it hits this new system, and it'll just, it'll load the right banner. And so when we release the new episode, it'll drop that banner in, right? And so it'll automatically change based on the schedule. And so I'm working on all of that. So yeah, all of that said, that's what we're doing. So I'm kind of building a system for that, just to manage it and make it easy to sign up. Now it's funny because you get into these software design issues and things like that. And one of the things that I did is I started with the podcaster portal, and I realized that I probably should have started with the sponsor portal, because the sponsor portal, it requires a lot of the input from the podcaster in order to get all this information in. But I can create a lot of those entities up front, or on the back end, and then just seed data in, and just create those interfaces so that they work. And then from there, then they can come in and they can they can do whatever they're going to do. So and then on the back end, it's like, okay, now how do I add one of these? How do I create this? And so anyway, we'll see how that all works out, but it should be pretty interesting to see how it goes. But yeah, so I'm working on this software as a service to solve a lot of these issues. And then what I'm hoping is that sponsorship outreach in the future works out so that I can actually just, hey, look, you can check our availability here. You can schedule a sales call on the same page, right? I have questions, blah, blah, blah. And, just make it work. And then the other thing is I've had a lot of people reach out to me and say, hey, can you represent my podcast, for sponsorship, and find me sponsors. And I just haven't had time because I'm constantly chasing the I'm running in the hamster wheel on my own thing. I don't have time to figure it out for them. And so if I have this system set up, then what I can do is I can actually then just turn around and say, okay, well, we're just going to add you to my system, right? And so they get like owner access to the show, and so they can manage the scheduling and everything like that. And then all I have to do is I get in and I basically say, so then they just add me as like an account manager over like ad sales or something. And so I'll have that role on their shows, and then I can get in and I can see the stats and I can see everything that it's got. And then, I can manage ad placements, and I can also, I can work that into the templates, right? And so if they have an ad spot that's open in 2 weeks and it's about a specific topic, then I can go shop that around. And so instead of going, hey, do you want to sponsor Joe Developer Show? Instead, it's, hey, Joe Developer is doing a podcast episode on Docker, and you have a terrific Docker product. And so I was wondering if you would be interested in sponsoring that episode and maybe a couple of more, and then seeing how that works. So that's kind of where we're going with that, just to kind of make that all happen. And I'd like to add a bunch of other tools for podcast management, because most of the podcasting tools out there suck bad. They are awful. And then like stats, it's the same thing. A friend of mine, Derek Bailey, had a product called Signal Leaf, and it tracked podcast downloads. And I think he was actually hosting the files too on Amazon AWS or something. And that, I think that was what made it hard for him, was that he had to pay for the hosting and he had to make it affordable to the podcasters. And that got hard. If I remember right, I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, it turned out that it was a lot more work for a lot less benefit than he wanted. And so he wound up shutting it down. And you can, if you go listen to all of the Entre Programmers shows, he talks through shutting it down. But the problem is you've got Libsyn, who tracks download numbers, right? And they'll actually host your media for you too. And they do it for a flat fee. So no matter how much media you have, you just pay that flat fee. And what it is the smaller shows are essentially paying for the bandwidth and storage for the larger shows, because they're not using everything they're paying for, and the larger shows are using more than what they're paying for. And so, but it gives you that flat fee, which is comfortable, and you don't have to be an expert on managing the storage and tracking all those numbers. They just do it for you. Their interface, their user interface is awful. It's awful. The other thing is that if you want to export the numbers or look at them in any way, you have to log into Libsyn and either look at it or download a CSV file, which is comma separated values. And I mean, those are your options. That's it. And anyway, it's just not great. Blueberry, which is what I use, has a lot of the same issues. Their interface is really poorly designed. It looks nicer than Libsyn's, but it's a pain in the rear end to track and manage. So anyway, so if I could just tie a lot of this together, it would make it easier. The other thing is that then I can take all those numbers and I can provide them to the sponsors. And I think that's something that sponsors would love, right? So you can get more of a profile on what people's audiences look like instead of counting on the podcaster to give you that information. And so if they're having a great month, it'll tell you. And if they're having a poor month, it'll tell you. And then they can set up like a CPM that essentially says, look, we're going to go back over the last, 3 months. We're going to figure out what your traffic is. And then we're going to charge people according to that. Or you can just set the rate, right? I mean, whatever. But anyway, so then, if an episode goes out, then within the next, week or two, then it says, hey, this episode was released. Your sponsorship is right here in this spot. And here's the link to it. And then the other thing that we could do is we could actually start setting up like tracking links and stuff and see if we can do some kind of tracking for traffic and things like that. So, people could essentially set up, like I could on devchat.tv Raygun, right? Raygun's one of our sponsors. I'm doing a webinar with them next week. And so then it goes through this system, right? It redirects to, sponsorsystem.io/Raygun. And that then in turn sends them to raygun.io or raygun.com. Sorry, they rebranded and I keep forgetting because I've known them forever. They used to be raygun.io, but it redirects them to raygun.com. And then, and it sets up all the UTM parameters if they're using Google Analytics or whatever, they set that link up. But what that does is then it sets up this tracking, right? So then it's, okay, we've had so many people come from, devchat.tv or Ruby Rogues, which is one of the shows, or JavaScript Jabber. So it's come from this show. It's, it's passing this link through this way. And then we can track the traffic there. And so then it's, as far as we can tell, we've had 30 banner clicks and 15, direct visits and, whatever. The other thing is there are some other tools that are out there for podcasters that I just, it's like, okay, I have one out here and one over here and one over here and one over here. And they just keep thinking it'd be way easier to do this way. The other thing is that if they're managing their sponsorships through this system, then we can actually just list them, right? We can do upsells. So they can tag their episodes and their podcasts with the topics that are relevant to it. And then if we have a sponsor come in looking for those particular topics as things they want to sponsor, then, then it'll show up. And then if they click on it off of that link, then, we'll take a commission. And if they direct sell a sponsor and, whatever, then, they can just manage that through the relationship manager for sponsors. And just, do all that. And then they just pay their fee. But I need to get this working for me first. And then, yeah, if anyone's out there and they see this and they want to check it out, then definitely check it out. But anyway, so yeah, so I'm building my own little software as a service package to just manage this stuff. And what I'm hoping it does is it makes the situation for the sponsors more consistent. It also will make less work for me in the long run. And if I make money because people want it, then that's a help too. But there are about 4 different processes that I manage on a regular basis for the podcast that I would like to build into this and just get them off my plate. And I've tried hiring people to manage those processes, and for whatever reason, I just haven't been able to find anybody who can consistently deliver. And when I had somebody that consistently delivered for like 2 or 3 months, and then she just vanished in August. And so, I found somebody else, and he's consistently delivered. He edits the shows and all that stuff, and now does the show notes. But, I'd like to just give him all the information he needs, and he needs a lot of information from me. So if I had a system like this that managed all that information and just made it available to him, that would be awesome. So anyway, those are kinds of the things that I'm working on. And, the other thing is, it's just been fun to dig back into writing code. So, anyway, that's kind of where I'm at. That's what I'm looking for. So, yeah, if you have any feedback, let me know. You can just email me, chuck@devchat.tv. Just let me know that you watched this episode, and we'll see how things go. But yeah, I'm going to end the broadcast, and I will be back on tomorrow. Hopefully I'll actually get my hiney out of bed and get things together. I think part of my issue too is that my office is still a mess from rearranging it. And I don't get excited about coming in here in the morning because, I want a nice relaxing space, and the mess it makes me a little bit tense. It's just a little bit of extra mental weight. And so, anyway, but yeah, so we'll do it tomorrow. We'll see you then. Bye.